In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. We are here with my very special guest, Kyra Mesich. Now, she is a doctor, highly sensitive person, and has written this book called The Strength of Sensitivity. So welcome to the show, Dr. Kyra.
Well, hello, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, definitely. So now your book has just come out, and it looks absolutely fabulous.
It's called The Strength of Sensitivity. Yes, I'm pretty proud of it.
Now, I understand that you are a very gifted, sensitive individual, and your book is really written to help people, kind of find that middle ground as they're exploring their sensitivity.
Well, thanks for calling me gifted. I'll remember that. And then, but really the point of my book is to let all sensitive people know that they are gifted. Now, we tend, unfortunately, in our society to focus on the negatives or the isolation of being a sensitive person. I began my life like most of your listeners did or perhaps still feel, which is being the odd one in the family, feeling emotions very deeply, perhaps suffering from depression or anxiety, maybe getting bullied in one way or another. And sometimes there's that stimulus overwhelm from loud or crowded environments. And I had all those things. And what we need to realize is that there's a reason, and many good reasons, that we are sensitive. And that we are sensitive physiologically, emotionally, and energetically. And when we understand all those things together, then it begins to make more sense why we are, how we are, and what the benefits are of being that way.
Mm. Well, and and it's so important because, you're right. Well, a lot of times I know when because I empath, and when that really kind of opened up to a greater degree, it was really difficult to, be around crowds or, just be around people that were having a really tough time, because that was just kind of overpronounced for me at that time. So.
Okay. So you called that empathing. So, could you tell me just a little bit more about how did you realize that you were empathic?
Well, I could feel what other people were feeling. And it was very interesting when it kind of kicked in, because it was something that I kind of shut down when I was a child. And then when I had kind of a reawakening of all of that, it basically, it was like turning on a faucet. Because I could feel everything, and the energy was just off the charts. And so it was a pretty pronounced event for me.
Right. So we'll go ahead and get right into that energetic part of being sensitive then. I use the words empathic ability, psychic feeling, empathy. Personally, I use them all to mean the same thing. Other people might disagree with me, but for sensitive people, there is an energetic side to our sensitivity. What is sensitivity? We're perceptive. That's it, really. We're perceptive and reactive to what is going on around us. In our society, we just don't talk about the energetic side of things. That energy that we are sensitive to, that we can't see, can be things like electromagnetic frequencies, so from cell phones, fluorescent lights, computers, TVs, microwaves, or it can be electromagnetic frequencies that are being created by people or by animals, by places, by geology. So, of course, it makes sense once we go, oh, well, yeah, I've always known that. Gosh, I can go into a room and I can feel what the mood of the room is like immediately. I can be around someone and think, oh, I don't want to be around that person. But what happens is that empathic ability, like you mentioned, can sometimes go a little overboard. And sensitive people will sometimes say they feel like a sponge. They feel like they're just overwhelmed with too much energy from other people. That's simply because we never even learned that existed. Like you said, for you, it gets shut down at some point in our life, or at least we try to ignore it. Or the feelings come forth, but we figure, well, that's my feeling. That's what we've been told from the time we were teeny tiny. If you're feeling something, well, that's your feeling. You own it. And that's not always the case, as we learn, don't we? when we realize we are empathic, no, that can be someone else's stuff.
Well, and and how true that is, I mean, because growing up and not having people say, hey, there might be this other option. It might not be you. It could be that you're picking up on the neighbors or the dog or the cat or, the area that you're in. And I think it's going to give a lot of people relief to be able to pick up your book and read it and go, wow, okay, well, there's more to it than what we've been told.
Yeah, it'll be a different world, won't it, when we're open about those things. But I think it's only going to take probably another generation or two. And my book, is going to be part of several other, teachings, that people are doing to allow people to fully exist in who they are. Mind, body, and spirit, those terms get thrown around, but sensitive people, we've been doing that the whole time. We have always been aware of been perceptive of what's going on emotionally, of what's going on physically, what's going on subtle levels. And I think that's going to become more accepted. And so when someone can really realize that energetic part of it, it helps make more sense sometimes of their emotional landscape, because people will blame themselves. Why am I so depressed? What is wrong with me? Well, not always entirely you. It's your connection to other people. And also even physiologically, sensitive people are prone to things like food sensitivities, chemical sensitivities, environmental issues. It's my opinion that sensitive people are the ones that are getting diagnosed with autoimmune conditions most often. And, well, that can be from these partially, I won't say entirely, but partially from these emotions and this energy that's never being addressed.
Now, is that what inspired you to write this book? Was there's a whole bunch of information here that if you're empathic or or if you're psychic or what have you, most people learn it, eventually. But starting off, it's kind of something that we just, you don't really hear about, and it's, it ends up becoming common knowledge after you start researching it.
Well, there's a couple of reasons that I was inspired to write the book. I mean, one is that if there's any group on earth right now that needs cheerleading, I believe it's sensitive people. It's time for us to stop being the canaries in the coal mine. That's how people often look at it. Oh, well, gosh, maybe we should do more organic food. Maybe we shouldn't do those. Maybe that chemical wasn't a good idea, because sensitive people end up developing asthma or reactions to it or, whatever. No, that's not our role. Our role is for people to listen to us and to pay attention, and for us to broadcast this light and this energy that we are all connected, that we're connected to the earth and everything we do to the earth. And so we can live in harmony and peace, actually, if we all just are aware of that. So that's one part of my long answer, why I wrote the book, because we're important. And the other part is because my first book that I wrote back in 2000 was called The Sensitive Person's Survival Guide. And as that implies, that was focused a little bit more on survival. And I feel like in that only 16 years, that has changed, and it's time for the strength of sensitivity, for us to fully claim our strengths. And I wanted to make that clear. So I decided it was, time for another book.
Well, and so you mentioned a little bit earlier about sensitive people. What is the difference between sensitive and highly perceptive?
Oh, well, from my perspective, nothing. I talk a little bit in the book about how as sensitive people, we experience the world with more impact than other people, and that is because we are more perceptive. I do cite some new studies that have been done which do demonstrate physiologically that if someone is a highly sensitive person, their body physiologically reacts more strongly to stimuli than someone who is not as sensitive. Those were done by Elaine Aron and her husband at Stony Brook University, and what they were doing was MRIs to look at the blood flow in the brain. And they have an inventory for whether someone counts as a highly sensitive person or not, divided up their subjects that way. And yes, the highly sensitive people had much greater blood flow in their brains in particular areas of problem solving and emotion and things like that. So they love that. That's what they were looking for, was to say, hello people, here's proof that we're not making this up. Mm-hmm. My pet peeve is and I bring this up in my workshops a lot. How often have you had to hear, "Oh, you're just being too sensitive"?
Oh my gosh!
Like yeah. That's a thing. Like, oh yeah, I just decided today I'm just going to be sensitive just to annoy myself and you. No, it's a dismissive kind of comment, and that hopefully will fade away with time as sensitive people react to that with, well, heck yeah, I'm being sensitive, and maybe you should be as well, to see, what's happening here. But it takes a while to get to that point. But that's why I also like to talk with sensitive people about our own identity. What happens when someone says, "Oh, you're just being too sensitive," is that for the sensitive person who really does feel like something's wrong with them, or there's something wrong with being sensitive, that comment just shuts them down, because there's no good comeback, is there? Well, yeah, I am too sensitive. And that's not the way that, I want my sensitive souls to be. We need to recognize the importance of who we are, and that we've given these gifts of being more highly perceptive for good reason. It also relates to being creative, being able to think outside the box. Of course, many of the greatest teachers, healers, artists, well, who are they? They're sensitive people. And that's where I would like sensitive people to be able to go, to realize we have strength and intuition. We have these tremendous abilities, strengths, and skills. And when we can identify ourselves as being completely whole and completely, a child of the divine, and we have the right to be who we are, and not feel like, something's wrong with me, that's a tremendous shift.
Well, and I'd agree with you 100%, because that's one thing you hear all the time. It's like, "Oh, you're being too sensitive," or, you get these kind of comments, and so there's this negative connotation in many ways with people who are sensitive. It's like, okay, it's not really appreciated, I think, to the degree that it is, because it's, in my view, I think it's a great gift, once you're able to, manage it and not be, kind of thrown in the bushes by it.
Right. And, managing it is what probably your listeners now are going, and how do I do that? I hear what you're saying, the managing part. I'd like you to get to that, please. And so I let your listeners know, I talk a lot in the book about different approaches and ways to what I call recalibrate, not manage or control, but recalibrate our sensitivity. When we were never told from growing up that we were sensitive, instead we were only given tools or ways to try to deny it and to fit more in, then we're not even starting from zero when we start to learn how to manage or recalibrate this. We need some assistance. And one holistic modality that I truly love, I explain fully in the book, is called flower essence therapy.
Oh, yeah.
When
that was my next question.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I guess I'm a pro at these things. But flower essence therapy is not aromatherapy, so I'm not talking about essential oils. And it's unfortunate the words sound similar, but flower essence therapy or flower remedies are energetic remedies, sort of like homeopathy, but in their own class. They're made only from the flowers of certain plants and trees. Some people may be familiar with Bach Rescue Remedy. That's kind of the most common flower essence mixture that people might see at their co-ops. But there are flowers out there that specifically work with our own energy to help us recalibrate. And some people might call it protection or boundaries, but I don't use those words. What I call it is more of a internal acceptance and awareness and recalibration. And so, in yarrow flowers are particularly great ones, but there are several others. And what those do is help sensitive people be able to more easily discern what is their own stuff, particularly in the realm of emotions. What is their own versus what are they perceiving from outside of themselves? Separate those so it doesn't impact them so strongly. And it can help with, like I said, stimulus overload in those when you have to go to a concert or you have to go to these loud places or maybe you just know work is going to be stressful today. It just helps put a little more of almost like this comfort zone, I would say, kind of around yourself. And if these tools are available, good grief, I think that every sensitive person should know about this because, hey, it's there. And it's like you said, you start to research it, you say, well, what the heck? I never knew. Research it and you realize there's flower essence companies all over the world. I didn't know that. So all I need to do is let people know this exists and a little bit of tips about, how to obtain those. And then, of course, I can work with people with that. Or there are actually a decent number of flower essence practitioners, around the world. So that's one thing. And then also it's a matter of developing our intuition so that we better learn, again, how to utilize the information that we're receiving already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. And really kind of asking that question, like, is this mine? Is it not mine? So you develop that level of discernment there. Right.
It just takes some practice. It's like anything else. First you get the knowledge that, oh, this is happening. This is happening. I guess this is happening. And then, which that's how it usually takes people 3. And then first you go, oh, really? Okay. Mm-hmm. And, then just awareness, paying attention to it. For sensitive people, we have this really strong heart energy. We have this strong intuitive energy. Mm-hmm. Those parts of us have always been trying to speak to us, tell us what we need to know to stay safe, to live more comfortably in regard to how, believe it or not, live more comfortably in how we get along with people and how we navigate through the world. And it's just like intuition, like, just this gift of having, this inside friend who can give you some heads up, about things you need to know or a higher perspective, which we all need.
Oh, couldn't we all use that a little bit more? One of the flower essence companies that you listed, Findhorn Flower Essence in Scotland, I've actually used them, and their stuff is fabulous. And I know you have that listed in your book.
Yeah, did you order those from a distributor here in the United States? Or?
No, it was actually sent to me from Scotland. So it was
you ordered them direct. Yeah, beautiful. See, that's the. I think that's what part of it. I said, the times are different now, and I think that's also why the book has been published at this time. Times are different. And because of social media, because of, it's easier to ship things around the world, because we can see, hey, there's other societies where maybe sensitivity is a little more accepted. What the heck? I think things can actually change very quickly. We have the tools that we need to recalibrate. There are a lot of means to be able to practice intuition development, to be able to develop our own confidence, to do this self-introspection and to heal. There's healing that needs to be done when we've grown up sensitive. So it's all there now, finally. It's really all there. And like I said, wow, you can place an order from another country across the pond, and they'll give you this healing thing that you need. And I just find it fascinating, and it's wonderful.
I love that too, because we are in such a great age where all this stuff is available. And I really appreciate it, like in your resources section in your book, just how you had the different flower essences listed and what they would, what they do, as far as helping people on their path. And so, it's kind of, it makes it really easy for someone to look at this and go, this resonates with me. I think I need to get, like how you were discussing yarrow earlier. And
yes, I wanted to make it clear, really clear in this book, because I know it can be overwhelming. This is new for people, most people. Like I said, maybe they've only seen Bach Rescue Remedy at their co-op, and they didn't even know there were thousands of other kinds of flower essences. So it can be really overwhelming. So I wanted to make that easier for people. But also, dear listeners of Marianne, please read my book before you go out and purchase flower essences, because what I learned from my first book was that, okay, so I said yarrow. Don't go to your co-op, please, and find a bottle that says yarrow and start taking it, because that's probably an herbal tincture rather than a flower essence. Okay. So please make sure. Plants are used in especially these really strong herbal healing plants. They're used in all sorts of different ways. They make tea out of them, capsules, herbal tinctures, salves. And then there comes the energetic usage with flower essences or homeopathy. And so you need to make sure that you are obtaining the correct thing. And so that's the other reason that I wanted to be so extra clear, in this book, because it was funny, not funny, that I thought I was being clear, for several years there, and people would still make some boo-boos just because flower essences weren't quite as well known then either. I do think it is easier now to just go Google, type in flower essences, and the correct, appropriate, websites will come up. But I just like to make sure on that.
Yeah, and the thing is you're right. I mean, with the age we live in and so many resources being available online, and also you have a great listing in your book. I was real impressed with the listing that you have in your book. It makes it really clear, where before people were like, oh, flower essence, that's like essential oil, right? And so of course they would get confused. And it comes in so many different types of forms now, where before maybe you could only get one or two, so there is probably that room for oops, the oops room.
Right. But, so, and I'll say, that's really what I am proud about. When I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm really proud of this book, The Strength of Sensitivity. One of the reasons is that I really feel like I've done my best to be very clear and practical with every single chapter, and going through our identity, the physical components of sensitivity, the empathic. It takes a couple of chapters to go through the empathic components of sensitivity. And then those exercises for, how do we connect better with our intuition? How do we do a redo on our identity? I've tried to be very clear throughout the entire book so that it's very practical, very useful, and something that people can refer to for years.
Oh, I thought it was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And I know our listeners are going to very much enjoy your book. In fact, I highly suggest they go pick it out Now it's at local bookstores. It's also Barnes & Noble and Amazon, The Strength of Sensitivity. And they can also, I know you do events. I know you have an event coming up, a retreat coming up in September that people can also, sign up and be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be doing that a whole lot more, over the next year and for the future. My website is easy to remember. It's drkyra.com, so drkyra.com, and that's where people can sign up for my newsletter, read other articles. They can see my upcoming workshops and events. I do work with people by phone, but if they're in the Twin Cities, Minnesota area, if they happen to be, that's where I see people in person. But I am going to really work hard to make sure over the next year I start offering more retreats. That's what we need, don't we? Maybe I need a retreat, Marianne. That's why I'm going to offer more. I'm going to offer retreats.
I'll second that.
Exactly.
Oh, well, and what fun it would be, to be in a kind of retreat like this with other like-minded people who are interested in their personal growth, like how do I do things as a sensitive, and then what resources are available for me. So, it looks like your retreats, it's grounded, centered, balanced. That sounds fabulous. Who doesn't want that,
Yeah, I thought that was a catchy name. That would, right. And here's the deal, even though I've come as far as I have over my life, and I am generally peaceful, very aware of and able to communicate with my empathic ability and intuition and all that kind of stuff, I still need constant attention to myself, to take care of myself, and to make sure that I am grounded, centered, and balanced. And that's the permission that we need to give ourselves. And I tell sensitive people, I like to leave them with one, kernel of the most important information, is that the reason we're here, believe it or not, is to take care of who we are. So that we are grounded, centered, and balanced. Because as sensitive people, we radiate a light, higher vibration, if you want to call that vibration of being connected to each other, of peacefulness and harmony and creativity, beautiful things, and intuition. And so unless we are happy with who we are, feeling pretty whole and fairly grounded, centered, and balanced, we can't do what we were really put here to do. So taking care of ourselves is paramount number one.
That's, and that's absolutely a great note to close the show with today. Thank you, Dr. Kyra, so much for being on the show today. My goodness, what a joy it's been to have you here.
Well, thank you. It was delightful. I'd love to be on again anytime.
We would be delighted to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here, Dr. Kyra. For our listeners, you've been listening to Moments with Marianne. If you'd like to visit Dr. Kyra's website, you can go to drkyraholistictherapy.com. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Discover the book publisher's weekly calls compelling. Piper, Once and Again, is the breathtaking debut novel by psychic medium Caroline E. Zani. Death has no power over love. Piper, Once and Again, is a story of hope for the hopeless and faith amidst tragedy. Follow Piper on a journey of loss and redemption as she tries to find the one man who can help her figure out why she must be. Piper, Once and Again. www.carolinezani.com.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or sales professional, but you're ready to take your success to the next level? I'm Bob Berg, and I invite you to join me at our next Go-Giver Sales Academy. You'll learn how to communicate your exceptional value to more people, sell at full price, become objection-proof, and embrace the abundance that's your birthright. Limited to just 12 people, so it's personalized, impactful, and transformational. Visit GoGiverSalesAcademy.com and see what others are saying.
Hello, this is J.J. Burton, former NFL pro football player and now author, keynote speaker, elite trainer, and success coach. To play in the NFL, it takes certain qualities, principles, and a work ethic that's unmatched. The secret strategy for success is something that I train top leaders, CEOs, sales teams, and entrepreneurs who are looking to move their game to the next level. If you need some VIP coaching or looking for a motivational and spirited keynote speaker, hire me and cultivate a culture of success by visiting jjburden.com.
During times of uncertainty, challenges, and change, how do we find a ray of hope to move forward? In Amy Van Adde-Slater's best-selling book, Moments, Magic, Miracles, and Martinis, she offers a torch of inspiration, motivation, mindfulness, and authenticity that illuminates even the most desperate of situations with possibility. Order your copy today to see what the buzz is all about at www.amyvslater.com.
This is Tanya Carroll Richardson, author of the new book, Angel Insights. I used my psychic gifts to get messages from the angels to write this book, and I'd like to help you get personalized messages from your own angels. Learn your subconscious blocks, make sense of the past and present, and receive advice about navigating your future in an angel reading at TanyaBlessings.com. Book a session with me and your angels at TanyaBlessings.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. Our next guest is extremely talented. She's been a psychic since childhood. Her name is Sherrie Dillard. She's been a professional psychic, medium, medical intuitive for over 25 years. She is a best-selling author of Discover Your Psychic Type, You Are a Medium, and 4 other books. Sherrie has been featured on television and radio for her work as a psychic detective and medium, and is a frequent contributor to Om Times magazine. Sherrie's love for service has really catapulted her intuitive abilities and her intuitive practice around the world. She's given over 50,000 readings worldwide. So let's welcome to the show, Sherrie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you've got these amazing books. My goodness, so many. I mean, and I can see why, because you're just unbelievably gifted.
Oh, well, thank you. That's nice.
Well, so I know you've been a psychic and psychic medium since birth, right?
Right. Yes. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but when I look back, yes.
It's, kind of that hindsight thing. And
right.
So you've got a couple books that were just released. One that you participated in, which is Complete Book of Mindful Living. And then your own book that you wrote is called Discover Your Authentic Self. Be you, be free, be happy. What inspired you to write Discover Your Authentic Self?
Well, when I look back at my career as a psychic medium and my own kind of journey of knowing who I was in that way and kind of coming into that awareness and then being comfortable, becoming more, professional with doing this kind of work and writing about myself, I realized during a lot of the, the writing I was doing with the books that there's really more to the story than simply acknowledging a gift that we may have or a talent or a skill. I think, and it's true for everybody, that the ability to take that and to really be yourself with that gift and to kind of put yourself out there kind of requires that we really know all of who we are, and are able to be in our truth and are able to not just, it's one thing to know who we are, which is wonderful, but as we do that, we're also able to help others to know more of who they are, and we can kind of withstand the ups and downs that life throws our way a little bit better, too.
Mm. Well, and I noticed your book, Discover Your Authentic Self, just about any page you just flip to, there's information there that would be beneficial for somebody. So one of the ones that caught my eye was, it kind of is like the whole world is falling apart,
Mm-hmm.
and it really provides inspiration for people then to go ahead and read this and then move forward.
Yeah, a lot of the stories, a lot of the essays that are in the book really have to do with many of the people that I've worked with in their own kind of challenges and struggles, to know better who they are, to kind of be able to negotiate, like I said, the ups and downs of life, and to understand that not only are we growing in the world, but we're also becoming more and more aware of who we are on a spiritual soul level too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the awareness of that, and it's also the awareness of that energy in our everyday life and how it may be leading us and how we may resist that, how it might create ease in our life, but it also might create some challenges in our life too. So I kind of wanted to take the whole idea of the authentic self into a more spiritual, soulful realm, as well as our personality self, our likes and dislikes, our emotions, which are really important to know all about that for ourselves. But I kind of wanted to bring it into that wholeness of, not only are we our emotions, our thoughts, but we're also our soul and our spirit, and they're all working together every day in almost everything we experience, and how to live in that authentically.
That's beautiful. Now, with the people that you're seeing when you wrote this book, was there more of one theme that stood out as opposed to any of the others?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the themes that seemed predominant were a lot about relationships and understanding not only how to kind of, again, be authentic in ourselves, but also how to be authentic in relationships and how to bring all of ourselves into our connections and communications with others. And then also, that along with the kind of things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, work issues, purpose in life, how am I finding fulfillment? How do I feel connected to a greater source? And trying, again, to work that out in some way in our everyday ups and downs to kind of reach more of a sense of inner peace with that.
Yeah, and I can definitely understand the purpose in life. One, I've had friends that have come up and say, "Gosh, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be here doing," and so having some kind of peace or understanding in regards to that is I'm sure would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, and that's why I wrote the last chapter in Discover Your Authentic Self is about our archetypes and our gifts and knowing ourselves by what we give others, what we're here in this world to do on a deeper soul level. And that's really our, we have a lot of different purposes here. We don't just have one. We have purpose in relationships, in our own development, but we also do have a purpose in the world. And we have a purpose with what are we giving? How are we serving? And so the last chapter is kind of devoted to that theme of archetypes and the different archetypes. So we can better identify what our gifts are, because it actually is not the easiest thing to do, is to know really what are we here to do. It's surprisingly, it can be surprisingly kind of difficult because, there's the human part of us that maybe we're good at something in school, or we had a friend or someone we knew who was older who took a certain career path, so we might be influenced by that. But to really know on that deeper level, it's not always something that comes really quickly and easily.
I can understand that. I was really good as a kid with sciences, and so I thought, I'll become a nurse. And blood makes me pass out, so it was obviously not the good way to go.
No.
Now, do you offer services if someone's saying, hey, I would like help finding more about, what that is for me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a big part of my work is helping people, again, to bring kind of those different aspects of self together, that kind of like what you just said, we might have an inclination towards something we're just kind of naturally interested in and good in, like science or engineering or teaching or, whatever it would be. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of helping people to, again, kind of go into the deeper recesses of that on soul level and see how that talent that we have in the world, how it can better express our authenticity, what we're really here to participate in on that more kind of purposeful level. So, I work with people probably every day on that issue.
Well, it's good to know, and that's so important to figure that out instead of trying to kind of bounce around and figure it out on your own. At least have some direction in that way. Now, if you have people who, because I know this book really is filled with over 150 lessons to kind of move people forward, inspire them. And I know that you use affirmations you have affirmations in here as well. Is that something that you recommend that people use on a daily basis just to kind of get their mindset in the right place?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I tend to work with affirmations on a daily basis. Now, there will be days and even week or more where I'm not working with an affirmation, but generally speaking, I try to incorporate it as a daily practice because just like what you just said, it kind of, it's like a resetting our inner compass where, we can have 1,000 thoughts going simultaneously and we can, have all kinds of things that are calling to us in the world we have to take care of. And a simple one statement affirmation, that we can kind of repeat, say, write down, however we want to kind of become conscious of it, can bring it kind of can be that center that we can go to that will reset us from everything going on around us and also make us more aware and mindful of what is important and what am I, despite, running around all day doing different things, what's really happening here? What am I really working toward on a deeper level that will really advance me and help me to have more satisfaction and happiness?
That's perfect. And that's really where we kind of as individuals want to be. We want to be in that place because it really doesn't matter what's going on around us. It's that inner happiness. And once we develop that, you kind of don't get thrown off in the bushes, if something comes up and it's a little bit different. Now, I know you also talk about in your book, intuitive attunement. What does that mean?
Well, intuitive attunement is being able to, almost like an affirmation, not really, it's very different, but it's the same kind of theory behind it in the way that, when we're attuned to our intuition, which is the voice of the authentic self, we have a center. We can listen. We can make better decisions, simple decisions. We can kind of know more about, what choice is really going to work for me today, or we can also have that center that is more of a sense of our own beingness, our own security, so that we're not out in the world just reaching and grasping and trying to find what it is. We can go back to that center, back to that intuitive voice, because intuition is connected to our authenticity, which is also part of our heart center and our soul. So not only, authenticity is not just about knowing ourselves, it's a huge part of it, but it's also about loving ourselves and about allowing that love to flow through us and being in that calm inner place. And intuition is simply that awareness of that. It's that voice that is always there, always speaking to us, moving through us. We can feel it in different ways. But being attuned with that, again, kind of with what we're talking about, really can keep us and help us to stay centered despite what's going on around us.
Well, and, there are many things I appreciate about your book. One is the information given, and then also, like the how-tos, like, detaching ourselves with, from others with love, how to do that. And
Right.
That's a really big thing. And I don't think a lot of people learn that, where we still feel we have that emotional tie and that emotional connection. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do with that?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
We're like, energy vampires, that kind of thing too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about relationships is such a big part of writing the book, because it's funny how quick we can lose ourselves in relationships. And, just like you were talking about emotional vampires, and, just that again is recognizing when we're giving away our own energy, whether it be because we feel we need to, because we want to love somebody. And so along with loving somebody goes giving up what we really feel and need, and recognizing when these kinds of imbalances are happening, and recognizing that, maybe that's not really love. Maybe that's what we've been taught is love and what we've come to believe is love. But maybe that's kind of not love at all. Maybe love is much more free, and being able to detach from those kinds of expectations that really don't help us to feel and have better relationships, and knowing that there's a more free expression of love that really is more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so your book really can take somebody, from beginning to kind of end on the journey of discovering your authentic self. It's so appropriately titled.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And so so they can pick this up at it's Barnes and Nobles, all major retailers, Amazon, that kind of thing. And because you've got so much great information here, it'd be amiss if we just took all of our time on one book. But I'd like for you to share with us some of your other writings that you've done, because I think our listeners, once they get to have I'm sure a lot of people already know who you are because you're featured all over Huffington Post and New Age Journal and Glamour, all sorts of, great print outlets. But also to have like an understanding of these different books that you write, how they can have those books, fit their lives. Like if I'm going to start studying to be a psychic medium, what would be a great, or just a medium, what would be the book for me to pick up, Yeah,
this was actually, I've got a couple books that were really focused with psychic, intuitive, medium development, and medical intuition. The other books really are more about that kind of work, developing our intuition, identifying it better, developing psychic abilities, medical intuition, helping us to communicate with the other side. And those books really follow my basic way of teaching intuition, which is really different than the way it's usually taught, because I and all my books reflect this, teach it more through understanding how your intuition naturally surfaces, which I call your psychic type or your medium type or whatever area you're working in, and the belief and feeling that there are 4 basic ways that we naturally intuit: through our thoughts, through our emotions, through our physical body, and through our spirit or energy field. And so the books are really centered around developing intuition abilities, psychic, medium work, developing medical intuition, primarily by understanding how you're already naturally intuitively wired. That's a natural part of you, that everybody has that sixth sense, and that once you recognize that, you can go forward much easier in development. And along with a psychic type, I don't isolate it from the rest of who we are. A psychic type is very much an integral part of who we are on a daily basis and how we're already receiving and giving in energy in our day-to-day life, and usually not even recognizing it or being aware of it. So it's kind of a multi-layered approach to developing these kinds of abilities that, again, I believe that we all have.
Well, and that's good to hear, because I have heard some mediums, psychic mediums, say that, if everyone can be psychic, but not everyone can be a medium. So it's nice to hear that, there's not a limitation on gifts like that, including the medical intuition, that people, right. those are attributes that we can develop.
Well, and I think we already have them. We can develop what we have, and that is, the truth of the matter is that spirit communication is more of who we are than even physical communication, because we are spirit. And we already are always communicating and able to connect with loved ones on the other side. They're not that far from us. We can connect through our heart, through, just listening, through things in nature. Loved ones will often manifest, as butterflies or different things. So, I believe we already do it. I think it's a very natural way that we are in this world. And so we're not aware we're doing it. I think most of the time what happens is that people have this false expectation of what it should be, what it should look like, and it seems so distant from their experience of it, when the truth is that it's a very natural thing that we all do. And once you recognize that, you can build from it, and that we all do that somewhat differently. We all kind of think a little different than each other. We all have a little bit of a different feel of different emotions, and our intuition is that individualized. It's not like one size fits all, and that's what gets people into trouble. They see someone on television, or they'll read someone who's, had this experience of what it's like to be a medium, and so they, compare themselves and say, well, hey, that's not me. I'm not a medium, So I try to bring it back to, okay, what are you experiencing? It's subtle. Yeah, it's subtle, and it might not seem like much, but it's the beginning. You can go from there.
Well, and you probably would agree with this, but spirit knows no bounds, so.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
If someone, wants to be, focus on their medium talents or medical intuitive talents or psychic talents, that's definitely something that can be developed and brought forward. Now, you offer classes on that, right? Workshops and one-on-one sessions?
Yeah, and I'm shifting. I do mentoring, and I do classes, but I'm also now working on developing more online classes and through audio and video, so that people can, work from their own home with it too, and go at their own pace.
That's great.
It just seemed like it was time to go into that a little bit stronger, because I have a lot of requests, and they're from people all over. So I'm putting that together right now, the video and audio tapes that I think will really, really be helpful. Hopefully, yeah. And hopefully
I'm sure they will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're such an authority on this topic. You've got great background and some just amazing accolades from what I can see here in regards to being noted in different, media and different print. I mean, people really pay attention to that, and you've got to know what you're doing, So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today, Sherrie.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a joy it was to have you on the show, Sherrie. Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. For our listeners, please feel free to check out Sherrie's website at sherriedillard.com. She offers psychic readings, workshops. You can sign up for her newsletter, learn more about her books, and all the fabulous things that she does. Before we end our show today, I'd just like to take a few minutes and thank each and every one of you for tuning in and spending this time here together. I'd also like to thank you all for your emails, for the requests and questions that you have. It's been my pleasure to see about getting these dynamic people on the show, and we've had some great suggestions. And I appreciate you taking the time to reach out and communicate. If you'd like to write a letter, please email me at marianne@mariannepastana.com. I always love to hear from you. And also make sure to sign up for the newsletter. We do have monthly giveaways. Earlier this month, we had a monthly giveaway with AJ Bieber. Make sure to stop by her website at ajbieber.com. and go ahead and take advantage of her free book offer specifically for the Moments with Marianne radio show members. So there's always perks in listening to the show. If you missed one of the shows and you'd like to hear it, you can visit the archive at dreamvisions7radio.com, and under more Dream Vision 7 radio shows, you'll see Moment with Marianne and archives. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in today, and remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pastana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepastana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.